We used liquid mercury as a starting point and the idea of like building something up for it to be deconstructed again. So there's lots of like construction, deconstruction, and then using some of the properties of liquid mercury as a starting point to build movement together as a group. I just had this building and deconstructing idea, and then I had the colours like silver with an element of red. When I was describing the colour to Yasmin, who's doing our costume, I was like, it's like liquid mercury. It's like, that's the sort of colour and feel that I have for the piece. And I was like, but I don't know why I also have the colour red. That was the first colour that I gave. And after some research, liquid mercury, I think it's in its organic form or something like that. There's something called cinnabar. And in its natural form, it's actually like a real dusky red colour. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense. And I was like, cool, let's take the liquid mercury idea and like go with it. So there's videos of liquid mercury reacting with gold, and we used that as a starting point of like how that grew, its explosive sort of like magnetic qualities and things like that. And we just ran with it. But there's something in that transition. I like it coming on. I like it moulding, because I'm imagining the lights to be really low. And they've got these like metallic elements on their costume so that the light can pick up. And it's fine when it's like rotating on itself and coming round. But then the crumbling doesn't quite work. It's a bit too jarring at that point in the piece. So that's okay, I'm gonna let that be and just move on to the next section and then see what that transition looks like. Yeah, I'm still like, figuring out like the threads, but it's okay, it's okay. We've got time. I'm happy that beginning bit was like, sort of worked out. Yeah, I need to get that trio transition, that clump, and get some lifts, get some when the energy. It starts slow and then it basically does this. I just imagine if someone was like pouring liquid, that was the idea. And I think it's working. Who knows, hun? Thank you. Time for the brain to just settle. Normally I don't stay in the space when I do things like this. If I'm on a break, I usually take myself to a different space. No, but on this process, this is the one process I've done where I stay in the studio. This whole process has been different for me. This is the first process that I've come in and I only had one idea that wasn't fully formed. Just the building, reconstructing and deconstructing. That's literally all I had. There's a bit in the music where like from the sort of atmospheric sounds, we get introduced to some percussive sounds, and then there's a bit was a bit more rhythmical. And I think that's the perfect time to see that, like that. And Steph knows that material too. So if we see it with Danielle once, and then we see it repeated with two dancers, I think that makes more sense. Then the pace picks up quite a bit. And there's a trio. This trio is cool. We need to see how that works. There's loads. Like this is like material. It's about the order, what feels right to the track, and like what feels right for the eye as well. I think sometimes with group pieces, I love a really seamless, like one group off, another on, so I love that. But then within that, sometimes the eye needs to just see simplicity in order to register when there's lots of people moving around the space. So it's just kind of seeing how we get into that, but actually I think I'm just gonna put a pause on it because I wanted to see how long that beginning section would take so that I can edit the music together and definitely be like, okay, we need this, we don't need this, this is a cue to look out for. But yeah, there's lots of things on spheres, like the shape of like little bubbles of mercury, like when you drop it and things like that. So random. Like, what do I know about liquid? Well, I know a bit about liquid mercury now, actually, but to learn. Like, it's abstract. It's just like, I like using something as a starting point to generate the vibe. It's weird because it's like, it feels rushed, but it doesn't at the same time. my head is like I'm kind of knowing the things that I want to walk through and like have. I just would love to have like a blocked through. There's one transition that I would love to try because I think it'd be really good. You know me, I put an undulation in there. But it's at the end of one of the phrases, and it would be so nice if just after this quick movement, the undulation slows down and it's just like a continuous form of it just like sweeping the stage, and will reveal whoever's left for whatever the next section is. Yeah, there's lots of material. I've got a rough sort of order, but sometimes it doesn't always make sense in the space. We've got lots of phrases though. They're a nice group. They do really listen. And I'm also fine if people are having a laugh and stuff like that. So there'll be a couple moments of like, hey dancers, just need to bring the focus back in the room. Being on the other side as a dancer, I know how that changes the room. And it's like, I don't want that. It's just a piece of dance, isn't it, at the end of the day? So let's play a game or two. Do you know what I mean? Let's play a game, let's chill, and then make some dance. Do you know what I mean? When we started, we did lots of task-based stuff, but I always come with banks of material, and usually I pre-choreograph them, but I made them in the space this time, which is unusual. If I'm meeting a new group, my movement style and what I'm interested in and the rhythm and the dynamics and stuff might take a moment to settle into the body, and so then it's also good to like meet the dancers where they're at and their strengths too. I will always have like phrases of movement, but there's definitely task-based stuff, especially for solos and duets, because I think it's a moment to like see them, but then it's like crafted and shaped by me. But it's like where I meet the dancer, and then it's like a fusion of both of us in the space. Through creative tasks at the beginning, I get a sense of how they move and like what's in their movement vocabulary and like what they're interested in via the task too. So then I'm like, okay, cool, maybe the piece has a vibe a bit more like this, and like this is that one process that I came in with like nothing, just like maybe an element of this music and maybe this idea of deconstruction, reconstruction, and that's it. That is very stressful for me. It's very stressful. But just trusting in the process. But that allowed me to see the group and see like, where do we meet like this? And then hopefully the piece is where we meet like this, you know? So like there'll obviously be key things like an undulation. I love an undulation. Pretty much every group I've had has had to do an undulation. How I make is always dependent on the group, dependent on how long I have, and dependent on the process. I've had some situations where I've had a large group of dancers in like 8 days, and then it's like the majority of that will be choreographed by me. But the same thing is that duets and solos will usually always have an input from the dancer, rather than just like, oh, because like the solo material I create on myself doesn't necessarily always mean it's going to translate on the dancer. So yeah, but I prefer making group choreography than duets. So that's my aim next, to focus on developing a process for duet work and like trio work, because I know it's not in my comfortable space of creating. I kind of need to be in the process for me to see where things can go. Whereas like if you're on the outside and two people are dancing, it's almost like I need an assistant or someone with me to like figure out, oh, maybe we can try this, to translate that. But it's all part of it, isn't it? You've got to learn. You've got to keep growing. It's coming together. My brain is just a bit like, but that's okay. I know what the order of the music is, how long I've got, and I'm able to count and be like, all right, I know I have like 8 counts of 8 for this section, or this takes up this and it feels like the eye needs something else. It's easier for me to structure, but then it leaves annoying like 2 counts of 8 transitions or gaps that need to be like figured out, and that's always the most tedious part. But because everyone pretty much knows everything, it's quite easy to just be like, hey, do you remember this material? Yeah. Let's bring this in here, or let's bring this bit here. They're just like, what's next? I'm like, I don't know. I've said that a lot this process. They're like, what's next? Not a clue. Not a clue. Just go sit, you know? I love that that was cool. I hope you got that. That was amazing.
I think it will be in the back.
It's quite iconic. Keep it in. all gather downstage. How are we doing? Feeling okay?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah? Because there are lots of space defining lights, so there's lots of bits that are in darkness. I think we have to be super present during the piece as much as possible, like not only just aware of like one another, but like where you are in space. So the handrails on either side are going to be on I think fire exit vibes, you know, so you can see the light. Those are always your anchors. I used to find things like that really helpful if it was like dark and you're like adjusting from a bright light to a dark space to help with our balance, help with our grounding and things like that. I don't know if you have a red center light. I imagine the camera will be on. That's also another good point of like, just look for the red dot, so in case you get a little bit disorientated of where's front and where's not, and then continue helping each other out in the wings. Yeah, just a little like, hey, to your left. But if I can hear you, I'll let you know. In the wings. Does anyone have any pressing questions for me? Yeah? We're feeling okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go with the dress rehearsal cast for tomorrow matinee, and we'll go with the tech rehearsal cast for tomorrow evening, and then we'll have a look the next day. We'll keep both matinee cast the same. We'll just make sure that Harry's feeling all right to do both shows in the evening. Sound okay? Wonderful. Well, you've got 9 minutes, not 15, because I just took up some of that time to just double check how you look and how, if you feel, as long as you feel comfortable and confident, you're fine. Yeah? Sweet. See you back here in 9 minutes. Thank you.
Are we allowed to be on stage?